welcome to Lilybugs Library. My name's Linda, and we're going to try something a little different today. We're going to do Poetry Thursday, which I've never done before, so don't really know what I'm doing, but we'll see how it goes. And I kind of mistagged Tuesday, basically because it's been really nice here the last 2 or 3 days, and I've been enjoying it. Even today, I've got nothing on but sunscreen. Well, I mean, I've got clothes, but I mean, I don't have makeup or anything on, just sunscreen. And once I'm done this, I'll be outside enjoying the sun. Was going to film outside, but there is so much traffic on my side of the building that I don't think you would be able to hear me. It's just, this is the time of day people are on their way to work, and it's just really noisy. So, with that in mind, we'll do it inside. So, the poet we're going to do today is Robert Frost. And I'll be honest, I almost messed this up already because I thought, okay, I was trying to pick a poet, and I thought, all right, I'll do Robert Frost because I have a book of his poetry. No, I don't. I have a book of Robert Burns's poetry. We'll do him another day. But that's okay. We're making this work. So a little bit about Robert Frost. He was born in San Francisco, but his family ended up moving to Lawrence, Massachusetts in 1884 after his father passed away. So it was actually a return. They were actually New Englanders to begin with, and so they moved back there. So he became famous for his poetry because, for one thing, it included a lot of New England themes. So it talked about their identities and the locales and things like that of New Englanders. And when he graduated from high school, which was 1892, quite some time ago, he was the class poet, and he actually shared the honor of being co-valedictorian with his someday wife, Eleanor White. And 2 years later, the New York Independent, which was a newspaper, they published one of his poems entitled My Butterfly. And he became a professional poet at that point and was paid $15 for his poem, which I thought was kind of cute, which I'm sure was actually a lot in 1892 or so. His first book was published around the age of 40, and he would go on to win 4 Pulitzer Prizes and become the most famous poet of his time before he died at the age of 88. Now, after publishing in the New York Independent, there were 8 years there where he succeeded in only publishing 13 more poems. And during that time, he kind of sporadically went to university. He did went to Dartmouth, went to Harvard. He earned a living teaching school, and also worked on a dairy farm in New Hampshire. So finally in 1912, he just got discouraged because he just wasn't getting the recognition that he wanted. And so he took his family to England and found he had more success there. So he did end up becoming, of course, very famous, including in the U.S., and on his 75th birthday, the U.S. passed a resolution in his honor which said his poems have helped to guide American thought and humor and wisdom, setting forth to our minds a reliable representation of ourselves and of all men. In 1955, the state of Vermont named a mountain after him in Ripton, which was the town of his legal residence. And then he was even asked to do a poem in 1961 at the inauguration of JFK. He had written a poem called Dedication specifically for that, but apparently the sun was so bright that day he couldn't read it because of the harsh sunlight. So instead he recited The Gift Outright, which is one of his poems, which Kennedy had originally asked him to read. And I guess, I haven't read the poem, but I guess there's the last line of it. He revised that so it would be more forward-looking for Kennedy. And then there's another poem, it was his most famous, apparently, called Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. So it apparently conveys the insistent whisper of death at the heart of life. The poem portrays a speaker who stops his sleigh in the midst of a snowy woods, only to be called from the inviting gloom by the recollection of practical duties. So it sounds like he has some really interesting work. Now, I did pick a few out to read today. I didn't pick the ones that we talked about. If you want to take a look for those, you can find them online. I chose ones specifically about spring because it's sunny and beautiful, and that's the way I was feeling. So I figured we need some lighthearted spring type poems. So the first one is called A Prayer in Spring. Oh, give us pleasure in the flowers today, and give us not to think so far away as the uncertain harvest. Keep us here, all simply in the springing of the year. Oh, give us pleasure in the orchard white, like nothing else by day, like ghosts by night. And make us happy in the happy bees, the swarm dilating round the perfect trees. And make us happy in the darting bird, that suddenly above the bees is heard. The meteor that thrusts in with needle bill, and off a blossom in midair stands still. For this is love, and nothing else is love, to which it is reserved for God above, to sanctify to what far ends he will, but which it only needs what we fulfill. And it says the poem is celebrating the simple joys of spring, urging the reader to focus on the present moment rather than dwelling on future uncertainties. All right, so that's the first one. The next one is called A Girl's Garden. A neighbor of mine in the village likes to tell how one spring, when she was a girl on the farm, she did a childlike thing. One day she asked her father to give her a garden plot to plant and tend and reap herself, and he said, "Why not?" In casting about for a corner, he thought of an idle bit of walled-off ground where a shop had stood, and he said, "Just it." And he said, "That ought to make you an ideal one-girl farm and give you a chance to put some strength on your Slim Jim arm." It was not enough of a garden, her father said, to plow, so she had to work it all by hand, but she didn't mind how. She wheeled the dung in a wheelbarrow along a stretch of road, but she always ran away and left her not nice load, and hid from anyone passing, and then she begged the seed. She says she thinks she planted one of all things but weed. A hill each of potatoes, radishes, lettuce, peas, tomatoes, beets, beans, pumpkins, corn, and even fruit trees. And yes, she has long mistrusted that a cider apple in bearing there today is hers, or at least maybe. Her crop was a miscellany, when all was said and done, a little bit of everything, a great deal of none. Now when she sees in the village how village things go, just when it seems to come in right, she says, "I know. It's as when I was a farmer, oh, by way of advice," and she never sins by telling the tale to the same person twice. So this one it says, with the analysis, it says, it captures the whimsical and industrious spirit of a young girl's gardening adventures. It evokes a sense of nostalgia and childhood innocence. So I like that one. I thought that was cute. The next one is called Blue Butterfly Day. It is a blue butterfly day here in spring, and with these sky flakes down in flurry on flurry, there is more unmixed color on the wing than flowers will show for days unless they hurry. But these are flowers that fly and all but sing, and now from having ridden out desire, they lie closed over in the wind and cling, where wheels have freshly sliced the April mire. And it says the poem celebrates the beauty and transience of nature in spring through the image of blue butterflies. The speaker marvels at their abundance and bright color, comparing them to the blossoms that will soon emerge. Yet he also recognizes their fleeting nature as they tire from their flight and fall to rest in the newly turned earth. And then the last one we're going to read is called Come In. As I came to the edge of the woods, thrusts music, hark! Now if it was dusk outside, inside it was dark. Too dark in the woods for a bird by sleight of wing to better its perch for the night, though it still could sing. The last of the light of the sun that had died in the west still lived for one song more in a thrust's breast. Far in the pillared dark, thrust music went, almost like a call to come in to the dark and lament. But no, I was out for stars, I would not come in. I meant, not even if asked, and I hadn't been. And it says the poem describes an individual standing at the edge of the forest as dusk approaches. The speaker notices a thrust singing despite the fading light and interprets his song as an invitation to enter the shadowy depths, However, the speaker declines its invitation, prioritizing the allure of the starry night sky. So I thought those were all lovely. He's definitely had a way with words and really bringing you into the poems, and he has a real appreciation for nature and the impermanence of it. I thought they were, really good. You could see why he was so popular and still is. So that is my first foray into Poetry Thursday. So I hope you enjoyed it, and next time maybe we'll try the other Robert and see how that one goes. So have a great day, friends. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.